Hey, everybody. Welcome to Truth Teller Tales Live Edition, our Labor of Love Series 3 with Trisha and Ellen. Woo! Hi, Trisha. How are you?
Awesome. Happy couple days, day after Thanksgiving. No, 2 days after Thanksgiving.
Yes, I know that all the days everything's going so quickly. Well, Trisha and I have been having so much fun because this series, we literally get to honor and highlight those people behind the scenes um, who are helping most incredible ways in this amazing movement that we're in right now.
Mhm.
And so it's just been, the first episode was the moderators that do amazing things. Some wives was the second episode that do amazing things. And um, tonight is very, very, very special because we're honoring and talking to a woman who is a warrior in her own right, but she lost her husband September 18th. He was a veteran, an author, survivor, an inspiration and a guiding light to many people, Boone Cutler. Um, and tonight we will be talking to his beautiful wife and hear her story. So without further ado, Malissa,
Hi,
how
ladies.
are you?
Hi, everybody.
Oh, this is such an honor to have you here to spend some time with us this evening. I can't even begin to tell you.
Thank you for
You're just,
having me.
yeah, I just was so fortunate to be able to meet you and, watch at the Veterans Parade how um, those around you reacted and acted towards you and the love you have back. It was just really lovely to see. Oops, we lost you. There you are.
Can you hear me?
You there?
Yeah, go ahead.
We lost
You're
you
back.
for a second. That's okay.
Yes.
So, it was just wonderful for me to observe that, just to see how loved you and Boone were and are, Um uh-oh.
I'm sorry,
You
my
see it?
phone keeps ringing and I don't know what to do about it.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay if it keeps that's okay. No problem at all. No worries. I mean, it's
No,
all
I
good.
can't
It's all
hear
good. Can you hear me though? Can you hear me now? Ah. Of course, someone will call her right when this started. Well, Trisha, when she comes back, I literally, the weekend I was up in DC, um, it was a the Veterans Parade uh, honored General Flynn with a dinner, and so I got to introduce myself, and then in the on the parade for veterans, to be able to march alongside with General Flynn, and there she is.
It keeps ringing. I apologize.
I No problem.
I
We're
had
just
to use
so
my
happy you're
phone. I
here.
can't. Yeah, I couldn't get the computer to work earlier, so I'm on the phone. Sorry, I apologize.
We're just so happy you're here. I was just telling about the Veterans Parade, and you had which we'll talk about later because so I want everyone to have the full picture of the Spartan sword and the Spartan pledge and what the meaning is behind all that and everything. Um, so actually, let's start there, because I want to hear your story and work my way to your marriage with Boone. But let's start with like w- now and that weekend of the Veterans Parade, and they were going to be Boone was going to be carrying that sword, I believe, that day,
Yes.
wasn't
Yes.
he?
Yes, he was. Yes. And there to honor General Flynn. He was the Grand Marshal. And so, pretty quickly after he passed away, I got a phone call from Luker. He is the guy behind the scenes at Spartan Sword. And he said, Boone was going to be in the National Veterans Parade. And I want to give you the option if you want to do it. And honestly, I really wasn't in good shape at that point. It'd just been a few days, but I couldn't say no um, because I wanted to honor my husband. I wanted to, do what would he would want me to do and to honor his legacy. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's an incredible event.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. It's right in the heart of our, nation's capital. And of course, General Flynn being the Grand Marshal was important. And
Very
Diane does
important.
such an incredible job. I mean, how she could put that whole thing together, it was amazing. And it was an opportunity. It was the first step I took into actually moving forward and deciding what I was going to do with his legacy, with what he, his whole life revolved around the veteran community for a long, long time. And mine did too. I was behind the scenes working and taking care of veterans, getting them hotel rooms, getting them a place to eat, food, trying to get them clothes, anything that we could do, hook them up with a VSO, help. We took care of their dog. We'd have their dogs for a while. We would send Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever plates. We'd have them at our house to eat with us. I mean, it was a lifestyle. And so it was a natural thing to do, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. I didn't know if I could. And at that point, I wasn't thinking very far past my nose. I was just trying to make the next minute. But that was the first thing that moved me forward on this chessboard of fate that I didn't expect. But here I am.
Yeah. And, I just wanted to show this picture that you were just holding the sword, going down Constitution Avenue,
Yes.
and having General Flynn, walking in front of you, which was just breathtaking. And I remember being there and seeing you there as I look one way and look the other way at General Flynn and seeing the White House to my right, and I'm thinking, I was just wanted to just cry. It's just amazing. And then I just snapped this picture of the back of you too, because he was just adores you, and I just loved that moment, and I just took that picture standing there. It was
I
just
love that photo. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was a I mean, it was a wonderful moment and a wonderful parade, and it was then great that you were a part of it. It was very important, and you did a wonderful job. You really did. It was
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well,
So
Ellen, you
I
you
want
were the ones that Ellen, wasn't it your footage that you showed some of the video?
yes, I put on X, yes, of them reciting the Spartan
I
pledge,
mean,
and
wow.
yeah, and it was really a wonderful tribute and a wonderful event.
It was
And
it was so
I've only
touching.
been doing it
Not a dry
so
eye.
touching.
Not a dry eye.
It was so touching.
What it,
Yeah,
just the energy that you must have felt there with just all
Yeah.
the
It was.
veterans and
I was proud. I was sad Boone wasn't there. I was proud of his legacy and his work, and getting to honor General Flynn in Boone's place because
mhm,
we were very close friends. Boone loved him immensely, and
mhm,
I know that Boone would have done anything to have been there with him. So, of course, I was happy to do that, and
mhm,
it's once the Spartan sword is getting some recognition and a boost into the community because General Flynn's acknowledged it. That's a big deal. Boone would be he would be so happy. He'd just be so
yes,
grateful. And
yeah,
so, I mean, that's such an important relic. It's an important um, piece of history. It's important for keeping alive our war fighters. It's so important to them. They see things different than the average people, and they do things for a different reason, and that's made just for them.
yeah. And he did focus on those post 9/11 warriors. And can you explain again about the sword itself is made out of the steel from the wreckage in 9/11?
Yeah, so his work was everybody. I mean, he worked with veterans of every era, but there was a special connection between a lot of the more current era veterans because a lot of them went back in. Boone went back in post 9/11, so that was a commonality. The guys just and the ladies and the guys decided to come back in because, well, our we had a terrorist attack on our homeland, really. And so he had been in Walter Reed for 2 years, and so I mean, he lived through. It was unbelievable. There were cockroaches. They weren't feeding them. Um, they had them up doing PT when they were wounded, and I mean, these are physical injuries, brain injuries, all kinds of injuries. And it wasn't especially a good time in his life, that's for sure. And he had a special connection with this Luker. Luker had ties with FDNY, and the gentleman's name is Danny Prince. He's a retired FDNY, and they would go, like, I think once a month or every quarter, and they'd go see all the guys down at Walter Reed. FDNY does that. I'm so appreciative of them doing that. And so when they learned about the Spartan Pledge, Danny has this steel. So they made the Spartan axe for the first responders, but first they made the Spartan sword. And so the Spartan sword is it's beautiful. And so many veterans have taken, the Spartan Pledge on it, and first responders. Most first responders are veterans. But, when you can connect with something that, encouraged you to put your life on the line, all the people that died that day, the destruction of New York City, the first responders that died, it's very emotional and it's beautiful. And so that's basically, one of the main things that I really want to keep going. It really is like a person. It flies all around the country and it does its own thing. And it's this, incredible piece of history, because there's going to be a point, I hope, that we don't have any more where people are injured the way they are now and don't have the problems they have. I mean, if we can make it through this, what's going on now, hopefully. Mm-hmm. But someday there's going to be stories, and children there's so many people that have told me. I just talked to a female veteran last night, and she said, I never met Boone, but he kept me alive. I love him because of the Spartan Pledge. And every time I feel that way, I remember I took a pledge. And so there's so many people that have come out of the woodwork to tell me that. And their families know it. Their families know they did this. So there's multi-generational attachment to this inanimate object that has a soul.
Yes. So, but how amazing is that? And while we're talking about this, I just want everybody to know that to support Malissa and her family. Any rants or any subscriptions that come in will be going to her and her family. And there's a QR code right on the screen that goes directly to her GoFundMe page as well. You can just go directly there if you feel like it, and support Malissa and her family.
Appreciate that.
We're going to go into details about that too. But just to start out with, let's just we really want to hear your story and what led you to meeting Boone. So at the very beginning, Malissa, tell us, where you were born and your life as a kid.
My mother was the daughter of an Air Force E9. He worked on Minuteman missiles and Triton missiles. And that was in Minot, North Dakota. My dad was stationed there as an AP, and he guarded the missiles. So that's how he met my mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
so tell us about this picture.
Okay. So my dad is an identical twin, and that's my father and my uncle, and they both went into law enforcement. So they were actually both stationed in Oahu, and I was born there during Apollo 11 time period. So my dad had guarded Apollo 11. And so I guess, like space and missiles and those things are kind of a theme in my family. So That
Yeah.
my grandfather, my World War II era grandfather, one was in Alaska, guarding Alaska. So I don't know a lot about his service. That was my mother's dad, but my father's dad was in the South Pacific, in the Solomon Islands and things like that. And they partly raised me. So I was around him a lot. I loved and adored my grandparents. And she was a Rosie and tested grenade casings. And my, grandfather spent 2 years in a hospital when he came home undergoing I don't want to say it's treatment. It's more like it's experiments with the shock therapy. And they really damaged
Oh.
him, and so I grew up with PTSD in the house and respecting my country and being raised by basically for at least I'd say I was there every weekend and in the summers. But to respect the military and respect, I was a patriot. I always felt patriotic and loved my country, and it was because of them. Raised kind of in that environment, it kind of is just that way. And so
Mhm.
I grew up in Ohio, and that's where I was in big tech. And I had children and was divorced. And when I saw my sons becoming more and more into the video games and the war video games, Call of Duty and all that, I decided that I wanted to introduce them into reality because those games aren't reality. And they
Right.
had a different idea of what the war was than what was really going on. And there was a young man that was buried in the local area. And I I ended up finding a space where I could bring my children with the USO, and that's how I ended up meeting Boone, because he was working with the PAO from down in Benning, and I was volunteering and helping, and he was doing a book signing. He was doing a little tour, and so that's how I met Boone.
Wow. So you were there basically for your sons?
I decided to teach my children. I have two sons that were becoming teenagers and a younger daughter, and I just saw that they didn't, their country, they don't teach them the things. I mean, they don't talk about Pearl Harbor and the things that matter in school anymore. And I wanted them to be patriots. I wanted them to love their country, and I wanted them to see there were young men just a few years older than them that were putting their life on
Oops.
the
Ah,
line
darn.
for their
Yeah.
country. And I wanted the reality of the world to be in their mind and to help form their opinions of who, and what was going on in the world, and to love their country. So that's
Yes.
why I joined the USO. I wanted to teach them, and I had Fridays I worked from home. So I worked at the USO airport, at the airport in Columbus, checked guys in and their families, and my children would restock the snacks and keep the place cleaned up. And so I wanted them to have a taste of what was really going on, and just maybe open their mind to something other than Call of Duty and things like that.
Yeah, yes. Because that was the big Call of
I
Duty
can't hear you.
time. Oops.
No, hold on.
I saw it
Can you
go
hear
black
me?
for a second.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear you. We can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna log back in.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. And so, it's just so fascinating that, obviously she wanted to instill that in her children coming from a military family. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, Trisha? Um, and it might not been as prevalent of her in her forefront of thinking if she didn't come from generations of military. You know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of young men when Call of Duty was big, that their kids were playing video games, but it wasn't in their purview to think this isn't real because they didn't have a military background. But obviously, to Melissa, let's bring her.
Sorry.
Hi.
I'm
You
sorry.
get, oh no problem. Yeah, but we were just talking that because of your military background of family and your family, you understood that what your sons were playing wasn't real. And so there were a lot of boys playing Call of Duty who didn't have a mother that said, no, we're going to actually show you what's real, because you had that background
Oh
and that
yeah.
family, you
I mean, and
knew.
a lot of us, I'm sure, like, my mom's brother he literally went into the wilderness and lived and grew marijuana to try to control his problems from Vietnam. He ran away from society because they were treated so bad, and never had anything to do with the VA till he was dying of Agent Orange, and Boone helped him get help. I mean,
Yeah,
these are our generations, right? I mean, our grandparents, our parents, I mean, every generation there's wars. When has it ever not been? I mean,
right.
they've never stopped.
That's right. Purposefully so, right? We're finding
Yeah.
out a lot of history
And they've
that we're
never been treated
discovering.
well ever. They've never
Mhm.
been treated well. It's a fantasy for people to think that they come home and they're okay. They're not okay at all. And I'll tell you, Boone was in Iraq during the time Chris Kyle was there, and there was a scene with the Golden Shrine, and then the butcher. Well, that guy was Abu Dura, and Boone, with everything, wanted that man not to be on earth anymore. He was the punishment committee, and they did horrible things with drills and all kinds of things. And I think people get a false sense of, you have this beautiful, like, top movie that everybody in the country felt more patriotic when they watched Chris Kyle's American Sniper. They were, they felt connected to the military, but at the end, it showed something that was absolutely not the truth. And I think it misled America because so many of us saw it. And what it showed was that Chris had gone to a couple of mental health appointments, and his family was fine and they were all happy again. That's not how it goes. I think a
Hmm.
lot of people were misdirected on that itself and thought, well,
Hmm.
you come home, you have, PTSD, you go see, the VA mental health, and everybody's happy. The kids are happy. The wife is happy. Everybody's, healed. But that's not how it works. It's not how it
Yeah.
works at all. And so America marched on thinking, well, that's must be how it is.
Hmm.
It's definitely not how it is. It's how we wish it was, but it's not.
Well, Melissa, you mentioned Abu Dahari.
Abu Dura, yeah.
Sorry. That was also mentioned in the book by Nigel, who was the shooter in Southport in September.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he worked
Oh,
for the.
I'd love for Boone to know that, because Boone, he was like, I'm going to get him someday. He still said that. He
This
was
is
still.
this is the guy that shot up the bar from a boat in Southport in September. And
Oh,
I went back I listened to his book on Audible because I was trying to find out why.
yeah. Abu Dura was, if you watched American Sniper, he was basically the head of the militia that was torturing everybody. And a lot of Boone's PTSD revolved around that because it was happening in Solder City, in the area he was in. And so he was doing horrible things to children. I mean, Terps. I was supporting Terps today because Johnny Walker's Chris Kyle's Terp, and they were in Iraq together at the same time. They were in Iraq at the same time, and Boone became really good friends with Johnny Walker. He's still here. He was. I mean, I'll see him periodically on the news if there's something like this, like with what's going on. You may see him on Breitbart or something like that. But these guys were hunted down and tortured for their work with the Americans. And so I hope nothing bad happens to the Terps, the good Terps. Now there could be bad Terps, I don't know, but the Terps that are in my life, they're part of the warfighter community. They're with their brothers. They hang out with, they're part of the group. So my experience with them is not you know, I just wanted to mention that because Laura Logan had mentioned, you know, not every Afghani's bad. It's just like Boone used to say, all Nazis were German, but not all Germans were Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so we have to remember that there's people here that did important work with our military, and they're beloved for that. And it's just a shame to see what's happening in our country right now. It's the color revolution is here, and it's in the books. You know, he and General Flynn wrote. It's definitely here. I mean, there's not a whole lot more that's going to happen. It's going to get bad real fast, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. So just to shift a little bit, what time period was it? So when you met Boone and he was at a book signing, what
2010. 2010.
okay. And so where 2010, so where was he in his journey at that point?
So 5 and 6, he was in Iraq. And then 6 and 7, he was in Reed and the Tampa Polytrauma Center, which is part of the VA. And then he was in Reno. He had lived in Southern California, and he ended up in Reno because his boss was very good to him and saw Boone like a son. And he saw Boone couldn't talk. They had him on Seroquel. I mean, Boone was a bit of a rebel, and when they were doing things to the guys during the neglect scandal, Boone was standing up for them. And they told him they were going to go lock him in the mental ward because of that. And he basically, I wish I could remember the exact wording. He said it several times. I'm sure it's on video somewhere. But he said, "You want to do that? Bring it." He goes, I'll have everybody. We will all be rocking and rolling in there. You want to do that? Bring it on."
Yeah.
And then the next thing you knew, he was put on Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic they put our veterans on that literally shut down their life. And he can't remember a couple years of his life. It's black box warning for TBI and PTSD. I mean, the things they do are sickening. It's frightening. Mengele is alive in the VA.
Yes. Yes.
And these are our warrior class. So now what are we going to do? Let's say we have hundreds of thousands of current war veterans that if they were taken care of properly, if they were allowed to have plant medicine stem cells, if they were treated properly, if they had the right pay and they weren't worried about their families and their homes were secure and they had the proper treatment, like plant medicine for PTSD, which Boone was backing and sending guys down to Mexico to do that. I mean, he was doing so many things people don't know. And if they had that, we would be so strong and ready for what's coming. Instead, they're dying of overdoses of these medications. They have them on benzos. They have them, so they're over medicated. They're not being treated for their injuries. I mean, try to make a doctor's appointment and get in, and as a civilian, I could get in a few days, or on our TRICARE I can. 9 months in pain.
Yeah.
Jumping off of parking garages, shooting themselves in the bathrooms at the VA, on the property, in the parking lots. Go Google it. It happens. It happens.
Right.
And so now where's our warriors? Where are they going to be when this breaks out? Because it's breaking out. Oh, they've they're debilitated. So we don't have, unless they found a way to get help, and a lot of them can't. You get on those drugs, you can't think.
Yeah.
Right.
So now we're getting ready to have a civil war of sorts. And all of our battle-hardened veterans are so sick from the medications and the lack of care and the neglect. And then 450,000 of them with traumatic brain injury that now are having heart issues, just like Boone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when you literally, it's ugly to say, drop dead. Your heart just has an electrical storm and you die right on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, has anybody thought of any of this? You know, and
Right.
you know, Brian Cates wrote an incredible article, and I'm so appreciative of that. Where you know people have to look around and we say everything's infiltrated, everything's infiltrated. They're everywhere, and they're in our VA. These people that hate our country made all the decisions on the VA. Why doesn't President Trump nullify everything with the VA and get a team together? And I want to interface with them. I understand what's happening. These guys, they don't want to talk to the VA. They don't want to go. They hate it. They die because they won't go. And let's do something. I know we can't do everything all at once, but I'm here.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
And that's yeah. And that's part of why we're doing
Yeah.
these podcasts to get that message out more and more and more. And it just takes one person, the right person, to pass it on, to pass it on. Um, and so, he was on obviously such a treacherous journey before meeting you. And when he met you, um, obviously because of your background and your grandfather that was in the hospital for 2 years,
Yeah.
similar, um, was able to share things with you and you were able to understand. Was that kind of how you both were able to speak to each other first with your commonality?
yeah, I mean, honestly, he was just an incredible person.
Mm.
And we did, and he invited me to an event, and it was like I could see his soul, and I saw this beautiful human being that was struggling with all these medications and all this pain, and you know, struggling with TBI and his memory, and the gobs and gobs of bottles of pills everywhere. And then they have nightmares all night long, so we go to sleep, they go back to war. And then
Yeah.
there's things like mefloquine that they gave them. So there's this not all, it's not documented on everybody's in their medical charts or in their records. And it's a medication that I don't know why they gave it to him. I don't know why they even consider giving it to him, because it put lesions on their brainstem, and it causes such nightmares that it's a heavy rate of suicide in the group that were medicated with that, especially the heavier doses around the Black Hawk Down time period. So
So,
the Desert Storm type guys that in Black Hawk
mhm.
Down era went through higher doses. And imagine you can't sleep because every time you sleep, it's amplified nightmares and
Yeah.
profuse sweating. So you're always potassium and magnesium. I mean, your Boone would be soaking wet. He would soak a towel. He would get up to wipe off and it's like he got out of a swimming pool.
Wow.
Melissa, there's a Liz Thomas 7 in the chat that said the VA keeps trying to kill us. I even had a doctor tell me to kill myself so it would make his job easier. I heard this same thing again in the shooter's book, the Southport shooter. He said the same
Wow.
thing. They kept trying to tell him to commit suicide. Did Boone ever talk about that happening to him?
I've heard things, I mean, I've seen really fantastic staff at the VA, and then not so much. They really need,
Mhm.
I mean, I know that Trump was cleaning out some of that. He needs to continue doing that. I've ran into some recently that, wow. I mean, I don't know if I don't know where a lot of the disrespect comes from that I have seen, but generally the veterans that work there have a heart for their community and their brothers and sisters. But there's a lot of government employees that shouldn't be working there. There's a special breed of people that should be working there that make our veterans comfortable. Hi, Liz. And I just had to say hi to her. But, you know, it's the whole thing's bad, and it got worse as they were treated poor like that. And I know there's been sexual assaults at the VA. I know Liz, she told me about hers. It's not uncommon, unfortunately. So it needs to be. I know they can't. I know there's so many veterans they can't. And Boone used to think, you know, his thoughts on the VA were, especially when he was having more trouble and he was more recently out. He thought that they needed their own place with their own people. And one of the places that was a really good place that he would send a lot of the guys when they needed help was the vet center. So the vet center is ran by combat veterans. So it's VA, and they're in all the big cities, and you can go to the vet center and they have all the, you know, they know everything. You have all the different support systems that are available to refer you to and get you help, and you can get therapy. He always went there when he needed help, and that's where he sent people. I don't know if the hospitals are just so big that they've lost touch with their souls. There's one director that was fantastic in Reno, and it was a female, and she saw what what work Boone was doing, because we lived out there for 13 years, 12 years, and that was his home VA. And she is the only government employee I saw embrace him. She saw his grassroots ability to draw the veterans, and she saw how you know, all the problems they had with veterans rejecting coming in. They didn't want to come to appointments. They didn't want to be in the VA. You know, the VA is a lot tied to a lot of trauma for this community. All of us. I mean, there was a ranger in Ohio years ago who had his wrong leg. I believe this was him. But I know somebody they were amputated the wrong leg, and then whoever it was died. And I think it was a ranger in Ohio, but it's been so long ago, I can't tell you for sure. Things like that. I mean,
no, we have a story from MedExam about when her husband was at the VA and they were about to perform a procedure, and she's the one that actually stepped in. Maybe she can tell you the story when we bring it. Yeah, another validation there.
I mean, it's just it's like care that's just careless care.
Yeah.
You know, and like they just push them through a system. And you know, these are important people. These are people they're going through a lot, and on top of not having good medical care all the time or mental health care, which, you know, I'm hoping that's improving. I've seen improvements with my father, with his care in Boone, but we didn't go deep into it. It was more like yearly checkups and things like that. But I know that the claims are going through better, but my God, please listen to us. We need help. And I've started out very respectful to Doug Collins and our VA. I asked them to please interface with me, sir, please. And they just ignore us. We're just a group of people that they don't feel the problem with the VA is they think they have all the answers. And I've been in forums with the VA, and they come in and think they have all the answers, and they don't. And it's the group of people that I'm with, that I'm living the life they're living. Boone lived the life they're living. We have the answers. We know what we need. You don't. Quit telling us what we need. We need more than you understand. And all the shit you put tons of money into, billions of dollars, most of it we don't want. So why doesn't it matter what we want? Like, you know, when Boone was fighting the battle for marijuana, he would say, how can they tell us it doesn't work if we say it does? So why are the voices of this community not listened to?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you. And when you were talking about the different medications, I could see, because I can see Dr. Medexam, and I could see she was saying stuff because she knows those. So I'm going to bring her on for a few minutes.
Yes.
So Chase, welcome. You're a medical doctor, you're a moderator to so many podcasters, and you uh, are nodding your head on so many things that Melissa is saying because you know. But first, tell us about some of those medicines that she was talking about, and that she didn't even know why they were given to them. Can you kind of clear that up?
Well, the I believe the mefloquine, they routinely give that. At least one thing is to supposedly prevent malaria.
Malaria, yeah.
Right.
When
So they give it
there's so many other methylene blue works.
exactly. You're exactly right.
They
And
used
why
that in
do
World
they
War
keep
One.
giving that when it
Yeah.
has known horrible side effects like the brainstem lesions, the nightmares, the sweating, the mental changes? It's
Yes.
almost like they do it on purpose.
It is done on purpose. Let's be honest. This is
I
done on purpose. We
I
have to accept that, right? I'm not getting, you know what I'm saying? We have to stand together and say, why are you killing our military?
I went through the same thing. My husband was a Vietnam vet. Um, in the Marines, when he first came back, he was spit on, called a baby killer. He was blown up next to a 500-pound bomb and had 200 pieces of shrapnel in him,
Oh my
plus
God.
Agent Orange. But for most of his life, he was a year in the hospital. Most of his life, he only wanted to stay at 80% disabled so he could still work. And he also didn't want to get the extra benefits because he cared so much about the other vets and wanted to give them a chance to go through the system because it took so long.
I know.
But I do have to say, Trump's first term, he finally decided to get 100%, and it went through very fast.
Oh, that's great.
Paper, yeah. So I do have to credit the VA. They did a great job with that. But once again, talking about when they almost killed him, he was at Walter Reed. He had a piece of shrapnel embedded in the wall of his carotid artery.
Oh my
And this
God.
neurosurgeon didn't check the records, and they were about to do a procedure where they would inject dye up his carotid to check his brain vasculature. And I said, you can't do that. There's been other people saying if you put anything up there, the shrapnel will break off, give him a stroke, and kill him. And I just happened to see him in the hallway and talk. If I hadn't seen the neurosurgeon in the hallway and said, I'm a doctor, I read the records, I know what you're trying to do, and you better not do that because it might kill him. And literally about 10 minutes before the procedure, they were wheeling them down there. All of a sudden it got canceled. So but then he had the Agent Orange and the prostate cancer. And it's a whole nother issue about what happens when they die and how we are treated. But I want to hear your story on
No,
that.
no, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry you've gone through all that. Your story's important. This is what we need. We need, I know that the community's locked down. They don't want to talk.
Nope.
They're so tired of talking about it and nothing. They don't want to have any hope anymore. They literally exist under learned hopelessness, which is a term that means you've been so beat down and so disregarded and so neglected, and every time you thought maybe you would get help, it never happened. So they've learned to shut hope off and live without hope.
Very true.
Right? So I that's why it's been important to me to try to get the civilian population to listen to me. And I have some very brave war fighters out there that come on and tweet with me and talk about it and share, and wives, and spouses and family members. But nothing's going to change if they have us so beat down that we're not going to stand up together. We have to do it. Okay, this is a movement. We have to think of Martin Luther King. Okay, things didn't get changed because everybody was beat down. They were angry. They wanted change. They wanted things to happen that mattered to them and their children and their community. And I understand, and I lived through this. I know, just like you have. And so until people decide that they're going to stand up again, this is our opportunity. There's a couple things that have happened that made this an opportunity, which is what made me, in my grief that is still very raw, and I'm going through a lot with the VA and how they treat everybody, and I'm documenting it on social media so people can see what is happening, because they think we have a couple of therapy appointments and everybody's happy. It's not true. And so, basically, the warfighter rights leader of the United States of America was killed by the VA. He was murdered. Okay, that's like Martin Luther King was murdered. Okay, this is our opportunity. What would my husband want me to do? He always said, scan for opportunities, pay attention, look at the things that we can use. Well, he's dead. Okay? And I have the guts to do this. And it's not easy. I'm very private. Not easy. Yeah. But I'm willing to stand up and do this. And Trump is in. Okay? Do you see all the things coming together where we can make a difference? We have we have a president that seems to love veterans.
Yes, he does.
Right? And his platform that he ran on was very veteran centric. He had a lot of support. Boone was rallying people. His guys around him were all doing it.
And, maybe Boone, reached a certain audience, Melissa, and now in order to take this to where it needs to go next, whether you call them the mama bears or whatever, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize what happens when the veteran dies and what happens to the spouse. So maybe you want to share a little bit about exactly what your reality is now that you're faced with, and then I think Megzam can share her experience. Yes. And then
thank you.
And then let's see where that takes us, because I feel like this, we talk about a divine hand in this, and about timing and opportunity, right. And like Boone told you to look for opportunity. What can we do to make the most out of a tragic situation of what happened with him? Because he gave everything to fight for these veterans. And I feel like something is being handed. The baton is being now moved on, and it's a bit of a different audience and touch point, and a tree with branches. And here we are. And how do we do this for you? And for everyone else in your boat, and people that will be in your boat if we don't fix this.
Yeah, and in our situation, the suicide rate was so high, and the horrible treatment of the veterans. It was so unbelievable what was going on for the last 15 years. Trump came in and gave some relief, and I know that they are doing work at the high level. I know that. I appreciate that. I know policy has to change. I know Congress needs to get off of their rump and do something, because they don't seem to do much. And, we have things we need. And when you see this behavior, there's something is wrong. Because, my God, if it was an illegal immigrant, they have everything. They have cell phones, they have checks, they have money for food. They're kicking veterans out of veteran homelessness, housing. They have everything. It's the American people. What the heck's wrong with you? Stand up. It's time. Can you feel it? I feel it every day I wake up. My husband's dead. I feel it. And so, I was in a situation where my husband was trying to save the community, because They were being chewed up and spit out the other side. They were killing themselves. I mean, we untangled a lot. He figured out the mefloquine thing, which causes suicidal ideation. You know, they kill themselves on that. And that's a big problem. Why did they give them medication that they knew that was going to make them kill themselves? See, there's a problem here that people look at the surface. It's a lot deeper. You know, so we weren't as aware. And I know we had some awareness. And I know there was a lot Boone was doing behind the scenes to help bury veterans and help widows and things like that. But it wasn't his main focus. He was trying to stabilize the community. They were so out of whack. There was no balance at all. I mean, oh my gosh, for years, every night, because he couldn't sleep himself. He was up all night long with people at the end of he was the suicide guy. He was the guy where all the hopeless at the very end before they did it came. So I have a pretty broad idea of what was happening. I saw a lot. I know, you know, the trends and how things happen. I know that alcohol, a bad relationship, which is generally with women, of course, because it was mostly men. So, and financial problems and benzos. That's always was just about everybody that was suicidal. Those 4 elements were part of it. And mefloquine, of course, that was the background. So when this happened to me, you know, I mean, first it was like a nuclear bomb went off on me. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. It took me a few days to get my footing. And then for the first month, I have very few memories of the first month. But when I realized, when the first letter I got from the VA said, "We're very sorry. We're just so sorry that your veteran has died. Please accept our condolences." That's the first paragraph. Second paragraph. "We are notifying you that there's going to be a paycheck deposited." So he died September 18th. "There's going to be a paycheck deposited October 1st. Don't touch it. We're going to reverse it out of your account. If Boone Cutler had a spouse," I was a caregiver on all his documentation for 15 years. "They can apply here. Here's what the form you can send in." That was it.
Wow.
Now I understand what's happening after, because that wasn't broad at the time. I think people are so traumatized and so used to the VA, how it works. Women and children mostly just dumped out of the boat. They just drown. It's better for whoever's on the inside doing this anyhow. Let the whole family go under. And, you know, the amazing part is if you're an illegal immigrant, in a week, you can call an 800 number, get food stamps, you can get a paycheck, you can get housing. All of those things are, you know, things that they can do very easily. But our veterans, Boone's paperwork is as tall as me.
Yeah.
And all the forms we'd have to fill out and then beg and find a VSO, which is a veteran service officer. Thank God for them, because they're the translator of basically all of this stuff in between, you know, getting service connected. So if you're have PTSD, you want it service connected, you know, and they're trying to help every way they can, even though if you file and get something service connected, then all of a sudden they can make you redo every service connected appointment again. At one time, Boone was permanent and total 100%, because you can only get paid up to 100%. And I'm pretty sure people were messing around in his account, because we were notified they had to shut it down and lock it so they could track everybody that was going in it, because there were so many people in it. And
Wow.
yeah, and bad things happening to us, like all of a sudden paychecks are going into some account, just somehow the account changed, nobody knows how. It's just being, and then it takes months. I mean, we have 9 months of pay we never got back. We filed 3 times. So this is how learned helplessness happens. You can do it and do it and do it. I've tried to get his Purple Hearts. He had 3 of them. I tried to get his TSGLI, which is if you're injured catastrophically, not mortally, but you have bad injuries. They have a thing signed that will help you financially. Never got it because they lost his records. Why is the VA, why aren't they held accountable for this?
Right.
And if you have a doctor that has your records, you go see a specialist. Let's say you have an amputation and you have a specialist, orthopedic specialist, and then you have somebody for PTSD, and then you have your primary care doctor, and then you want to apply for a caregiver. There's no central repository for records. They're everywhere. So you're responsible for putting them into the records at the VA hospital. You're responsible for giving them to your caregiver group. You're responsible for giving them to your all the specialists. You're responsible. Why?
Yeah.
So
these guys have traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. So he's making noise, and they prevent you from getting the access to those 3 Purple Hearts. I know I have military family. You get those Purple Hearts, you do get some nice financial benefits with property taxes. So they're keeping you.
Our children would have had extra school support.
Yeah.
Missed out on.
So they're totally just gang stalking you through the VA.
Yeah, they are. And basically they keep saying his records are missing. So we got we were in Nevada. So when I came in his life, Harry Reid had been contacted because you go through politicians. And there was another one named Mark Amaday. He was former Navy. And so I was working with Mark Amaday, his office. And Harry Reid's office came back and said, we don't even see he was in the war. We see he broke his neck, which he did. He had a subluxation C1, C2 as a paratrooper and a jump. But they couldn't even see he was in the war after 2 years at Reed.
What the hell?
So
it's crazy.
It's way crazy. So what happens is if the VA is irresponsible and loses your records, you pay for it.
Yeah.
It should fall automatically. And if a veteran, why do we have to prove and prove and prove and prove when an illegal immigrant can come in and they don't have to prove that they're the shoe bomber or whatever bomber they are,
Yeah.
And so here we are, we have to beg, then we get rejected for it being service connected, and then we have to refile, and then they're going through multiple doctor's appointments, which they don't want to deal with the VA at all. So some of them end up homeless, some of them end up like my uncle living out in the wilderness,
Yeah.
They don't get what they deserve, and we have to, instead of them coming and saying, let's talk about what's happened and let's get you everything you should have. I know there's bad people out there. Screen them out. Make sure your system's good enough to screen them out. These injuries are documented while they're on the battlefield. They should be able to go back to the records, and whoever's the commander and whoever's in charge of these areas, they should know that. They're medevaced out. They have
these institutions, as Patrick Gunnell said, know exactly how many nose hairs he has. They track everything. There's no excuse.
There's none.
Well, there's no excuse.
And it goes back because my husband's records, they said burned up in a fire in St. Louis. So they said that to a lot of Vietnam vets. So they've been using that burning up in the fire. And then at Walter Reed, exactly what Melissa said. We had to go to each individual doctor and get the records. It took me a year to get all of them. And then Walter Reed, I tried to get them. They said they were classified. Great. So we couldn't even get the Walter Reed ones. Luckily, I managed to finagle, but the forms you have to fill out, you have to be a rocket scientist to fill the forms out. And if you do one wrong thing, then the service connection gets thrown out. It's
look at what they do to us, just because I know Ellen went through this as well. And I'm still, my mom passed in March, and I'm still going through trying to get all of her estate settled. It's a nightmare to all of the paperwork and the proof. They want like your firstborn just to prove, to get access to your mom's information so you can do what you have committed to do. And they'll send out forms, and then you have to do this and the death certificate, and then it's like, oh, then it goes to another department, and then they have to evaluate the forms to make sure all of the onus is put on us, the rule followers. And then we've got these people coming through arbitrarily, and the immigrants, and they get everything. And yet we follow the rules and we're put through. And it's got to be designed. Even you mentioned, my mom's social security check was deposited in the bank, and somebody said, oh, they're going to come and take that back out, because if she didn't live the whole month, they don't prorate it. So don't take it out, because they're going to come back out and take. So I'm still keeping the account open, waiting for Social Security to take it back out.
It makes it so much harder, Tricia, because also, to think that these veterans, that they put their lives on the line, were injured in the most catastrophic ways, and are treated that way. And it, of course, Melissa, to your point, that's why they feel beaten down, because and they feel helpless, and they feel hopeless. I mean, I feel that way just hearing about it, and I'm just, you know what I mean? I can't imagine living that. And then when they pass, which both of your husbands have, then you continue to have to deal with the system that is broken. It's broken. And you are fighting and fighting and fighting. And you know, there's a reason, I think, that Melissa, your husband has left you a legacy and a microphone, right?
Mhm.
Um, and again, as we were talking about passing the baton, I think he is with us, and he's the wind within behind your wings here, to help make changes in the system with which we're in right now. I mean, we are in a time of exposure about everything, and this can't be left behind. This has to
Agreed.
be in the forefront,
Yes.
everything that you're dealing with. So what you're doing is so important. So you can have the microphone, and people like Chase here, who is just a regular person, and same thing happens to her. So it's happening to everybody, but you at least have, people that will hear you. And that's where it starts. Do you feel that way, Melissa?
Yeah, and I really, that's the message I want to get out is we have an opportunity to do something. And if, I know people are questioning who are the people around Trump, what Trump's doing, decisions he's making. He's appointed people to positions. So I would love to have a conversation with him, but I know he's fighting a war right now, and I know it's getting bad. Doug Collins, I don't understand why I see him dancing at football games
Oh,
on X, or those type of things, when he knows I'm trying to reach him. He's sending people to me. I've had 3 people come, people from bereavement benefits, and I've learned about some of that. And I've been posting what I learn as I go. I post it because there's just not one place for everything. It's like a hunt. It's like a treasure hunt. You have to find it to even know it exists, and then the clock's ticking. You're getting ready to sink. It's terrible. It's not. How come these things don't automatically roll out? How come they don't say you're going to get your check the first of the month?
right.
Your husband died basically from injuries from the war, and this is a compensation package that we have for the family when this happens. That they would plan on knowing that they know what's happening to these guys. They neglected them to death. They know they're dying. There's 450,000 veterans with TBI. And what happened to Boone is they're already having heart issues. The central sleep apnea goes with the traumatic brain injury. So you should be issued that when you're being evaluated. Why is it taking so long to get them evaluated? We went into for an eye appointment. We went in to go get our eyes checked. And the ophthalmologist came out and said to Boone, he said, I just, when they look in your eyes and they do the lights and they do the puff of air and that whole thing. Okay. So he came out after that and he said, Boone, have you had any sort of like brain injury? And he said, yeah, in Iraq. And he goes, I can see it. Now, why are our guys going through years of claims when they can walk off the battlefield and look in their eyes and know there's a TBI? Why aren't they treating that immediately?
Right. Yes.
Yep.
No answers there.
No, it's inefficient, and it's just greed. It's basically, living off the back. I mean, the corruption, the infiltration of our enemies running these places. I mean,
right.
It's shocking and it's scary for the families.
Yeah.
I had a Vietnam era widow. Her name's Lisa. She's on Twitter, and I have a special affection for her. She's been so sweet, and she had given up, and she had been with her husband 48 years, and he died. And I don't know all the circumstances. I know a lot of veteran families, especially when there's illness and different things, they have to remortgage their homes and things like that. And when he died, she lost her home. 48 years of marriage. Took care of him all those years.
Yeah.
Why is this okay? She's in a retirement year. She should be comforted and loved when she lost him, not dumped out of the boat. Bye-bye, go sink. I mean, there's some major problems. And so what do I want? I want Doug Collins to acknowledge us. They think they know everything, and they keep thinking they know everything. Oh, well, we have forums, and there's other family members. My husband was the warfighter rights leader of the United States of America. You don't have me. I know everything. Why not give it a chance? Why, if things aren't working out, why aren't you listening and helping me get in touch with the right people so you can hear us?
Yep.
Why?
Yes.
They don't have a reason. And so every day there's more stacking up. There's more deaths like Boone's. There's more suicides. It just is going to keep going. I'm sorry. This is on the hands of the current administration for ignoring when somebody stands up and say, I can help you. I understand what's happening. Now, what I did see after the Office of Suicide Prevention contacted me, they wanted to know about Boone's work. They're so happy to share my post. They're so happy to talk about this. And they did, and I appreciated that. I saw Doug Collins, and it was recently after we talked and I shared the battle, but the thing about contact your battle buddy with a Spartan sword. I saw him do a battle buddy Twitter. The community doesn't care if you do a battle buddy Twitter. They don't care. Why waste your breath? The grassroots talk to us. They don't even look at you. They're not interested in you. They don't care about you because the VA has just killed them and obliterated their lives. So you have an opportunity to come to me and let's do the Spartan pledge. Let's bring the sword out. Let the grassroots take hold and watch what happens. Why aren't you willing to do that? Why are you doing call your battle buddy?
Yeah.
Do you understand your place in this? Do you understand when you're at a football game and we just lost another, let's say, I don't know, 25 a day, because that's way under. But let's say we lost 25 more that day. You couldn't have called me. I'm connected to the community that doesn't want to deal with you. I'm opening a door. I'm asking nice. What's the problem? Why do you let us even have, it's like, I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to beg. I'm just going to keep sharing everything you don't want the world to know. And it's going to keep getting uglier and uglier. Aren't they paid enough to have education enough to know that what they're saying, generations of this that's happened, nobody cares what they're saying? They've said it a million times. Nothing's changed.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to try something new. The
Right.
guy that saved thousands, tens of thousands of lives. You don't want anything to do with us, huh? We see you.
Wow. I can tell you, Boone is with you right now. I
Yep.
can feel that, boy. I mean, that was yes.
Yeah.
And you are making a difference, Melissa, and you're going to continue to do so. And that was
Because it's
fierce
the
and on
truth, right?
point,
It's
and
the
it's the
truth.
truth.
That's
That's
what
right.
matters, the truth. And nobody's telling the truth. And they want to keep, it's like watching a variety show. You know, oh, this is getting signed and this is getting signed. Well, I ask around me, like, has anything changed? What's going on? Nope, my friend, this happened to me, this happened, this is happening. I know somebody this happened to. We're not feeling your vibe that you're putting out, sir.
Right. Yes. And I think because this same tone deafness is in all areas, but it's amplified for our veterans because of what they've been through and what these families have given to our country. Um, and so we see that in other areas of our world, but this one is just it's so glaringly wrong because of what these families have given to this country generationally, most of them. So
Yes.
I know as we plant these seeds and have these discussions, and your heart is so, we see it and we can see you're telling the truth and you're passionate about it, obviously. Why that it's going to start to break through to what it needs to do in a positive direction. I don't know when or what's going to finally crack open the door for you to be able to get to the right people and make a difference, but it will, because you're not here, you're here doing it, and you've got a
Mhm.
fire, and I see it and I hear it, and it's spreading, and you just talking to us, it's lit a fire within all of us as well.
Absolutely.
So and
Yeah, and
and
I would say too, where Melissa is feeling like the breaking point, right? This is where it hits home with you and people that are like you and in that same boat. And then you've got another, segment over here, whether, maybe it's going to be the vaccines or the people that, got injured that way. Somebody else, might, see people dying from cancer, and the
Right,
medical
right.
industry is going to, like, it is in all facets of our lives where everything is coming to the precipice, so that everybody's going to be touched by the thing that is the
Yeah.
most important to them and the most relevant at that time. And you sort of just see it like building, and then all of a sudden it's all going to like merge together, and we're going to, I mean, it's just going to, people
Yeah.
are going to be like, enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
yes,
I'm done with this corrupt government. We're infiltrated everywhere. You do not have our best interest. And it's, whether it's the judicial, the, executive, the pharma, the taxes, it's everywhere. They don't care about us.
They don't. And
no,
with everything going on in our country right now, and people, you know, I can't remember the Japanese leader that, there's that saying out there that the reason that the world doesn't invade America is because behind every blade of grass is a gun. Well, behind all of these doors in America, every street, everywhere, there's a veteran, and they've battled before and know what to do and how to organize. And if we don't have that, if this comes into our streets, I mean, we saw Antifa and BLM were coming into our neighborhoods. Imagine if this thing breaks wide open, you know, guys that are in the military, females, males and females. That's our leadership when this happens. And it seems to be coming. I mean, those people are in Dearborn, Michigan are going crazy. And, you know, there's all kinds of stuff happening in our streets, and they're trying to clean up the streets, and people are protesting it. There's so much racism that has been nurtured from prior administrations and prior leadership. You know, Soros or whoever. I mean, all the money they've paid to cause all this division. And that's why I think General Flynn and Boone, part of the books in the 5GW series, are we have to reunite. We have to understand who we are. And we have to understand. I mean, it's like politics has replaced church. It's so important to everybody, you know, what they have to say. Well, it's not going to matter what you have to say if something happens and war is brought on our homeland. You know, I mean, it's happened in other countries. Look what happens. Look what other countries, and General Flynn and Trump, they're all calling out the CIA. Does anybody notice things are getting a lot worse since then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. They're fighting for their lives, both sides. And people aren't paying attention. We're collateral damage waiting to happen. And I don't mean Trump wants it that way. Our enemies, these people who are being called out, they're very powerful. They've ran our entire country into the ground. So who do we have if that breaks out? Veterans. Well, they're all sick. They're all sick. They're all drugged out of their mind. They're not taken care of. They're dealing. PTSD is getting triggered everywhere because of the war. You know, what are we gonna do?
Yep.
You find the veteran on your street. You call the local veteran, and I'm sure because they all do it. A lot of them have groups where they already have plans. They set things up, like if something happens to me, help take care of my family. They do things like that. They network.
Yes.
You know, if something happens here, you know, I remember Boone at one time in Reno, he's like, if something ever happens here, we have the 80 that goes out to California. You know, I mean, he would talk about things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how their mind works.
Yeah. Survival.
Well, yeah. So if something happens here, and all of our veterans, all of our battle-hardened veterans that know what war looks like and what to do, we're in trouble right now. I really believe we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think it is reaching a precipice, you know, for sure. And if people watch this, rewatch this not live, there is a QR code up at the corner of the screen for Melissa's GoFundMe to help her and her family. If you would like to do that, it would be very appreciated by her and her family for sure.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to hang in here to get moved. I have to sell my house. That's the situation we're in. You know, people have a lot of questions. Why don't you have savings? Well, we did. We remodeled our house. Before that, all of over $125,000 went into protecting ourselves from lawyers that were trying to take Boone out because he was exposing them for what they were doing to veterans. So, you know, we haven't lived a life where we just save money and sit around and watch TV and go to parades or, you know, go down the grocery store. We've lived a life of advocacy. And I think living a regular, happy, normal life is wonderful, but that's not what we've done. We've fought and fought and fought. And they were always targeting us. You know, we've been through a lot. And losing his records has caused a lot of problems because, you know, there's two things. They've lost his records, which completely disables you, just like her husband. They lost his records. Now, isn't that a coincidence? 2 out of 2 of us have the same problem. And then on top, so we didn't get the TSGLI and things that he should have got in the Purple Hearts. And they blame it on us. And then we pay for it. The veteran pays for it.
Exactly.
And then he was at 230%. You go try to get life insurance.
Oh no. He could never get life insurance, ever.
That's right. It's a discrimination against this community. So why doesn't the VA automatically have a policy if you're injured in war, your family's taken care of, there's an amount that you can add into that they give you to take care of the family of a warfighter that's killed, because Boone was killed on the battlefield. He died 20 years later of neglect, but his
I
injuries,
agree. But look,
right?
that's a perfect idea, Melissa. Look, that's a perfect way we can start honoring the veterans. Get the VA to put in some kind of life insurance thing, because none of these combat vets can get life insurance.
And
You
they
came
can
up
get,
with a
yes.
brilliant plan. We'll keep
But
moving forward.
great plan, great idea, Medexam. Like start like, so if you do start getting meetings with people, it's like, here's what we want. Here are the
Right.
action items
Right.
that are very easy to act on. You know,
Yeah,
and if you,
I've been thinking about this stuff because, you know, I've seen bad caregivers, and I thought, so I think it through, and I'm like, okay, well, if there's, let's see if there's a $500,000 policy if you die from your combat injuries, and you could add to it so that it grows annuities or whatever, tariff funding, that would be great, right? And but you know, they do have to be careful, because I've seen bad things with caregivers. I've seen people who are just taking the money and not taking care of the veteran. So we have to be
Yeah.
honest here about what's happening in the community. We have, you know, there's certain things we would have to make sure the veteran's secure, because my God, I can see that somebody would take a veteran out to get that money. So, you know, I mean, there's different things that we need to make sure we're protecting the veteran, especially with traumatic brain injury. You know, Boone had stem cells. It helped his traumatic brain injury some. His rating actually came down on that because they forced him to, when his service connection, his permanent and total was all of a sudden not permanent and total. We had to do 14 different types of appointments, 14 different doctors,
Mhm.
just to get his records corrected from a mistake the VA did. Okay. And, you know, so, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can think of that would be helpful. And another thing, they put them on things like Seroquel, out of their mind, benzos, and all of that. And when they leave you know, first of all, it's very difficult to see what is available. So you go through life and think, well, you know, we'll be taken care of here. It'll happen like this. You don't really understand, because you go read it. They're trying to change that. I talked to the survivor's office. They're trying to fix some of that. But you know, you don't really understand all the language. Like, you know, you said, ma'am, that basically the paperwork, it's like Elon Musk needs to figure it out for us.
That is so true. The paperwork was ridiculous. It was like almost 100 pages, and I couldn't figure it out. I did get a VSO, but this was like 2 months later, veteran service officer,
Yeah.
and he had to help me. And it was so intrusive. They wanted every single detail, and only then would they even think about getting the combat pension. And we were told it was going to be about 60%, and it turned out to be less than 20%.
That's what they're doing to me. So
Yeah, got
yeah, the
totally
exact same.
hosed.
So, you know, my husband needed a caregiver, and I got him on his feet. We did a lot of natural things and more the natural alternative modalities like stem cells and things. But there was a time that I quit my job because he needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't put anything into a pension. I don't have a pension. I don't have a retirement. And my Social Security, I quit paying 15 years ago. So we give up our careers to take care of the combat veteran. We're caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a VA official caregiver from the first wave from 2010. I think the paperwork started in 2011. The program was actually stood up. And then people are like, well, you're not the veteran. No, I'm not. I never said I was. But I for 15 years, I did everything that he needed. He couldn't wash his hair. He couldn't get in the shower. He couldn't get out of bed sometimes. His back would lock up. Putting him on a chair, trying to roll him around. You know, people don't understand what happens. He's broke his neck. His migraines were terrible. You know, I mean, that we went through so much, and everybody in this community is going through this stuff. It's not just me. So, but I know what is happening here. So
Right.
when they die and they give you about 20%,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to apply for it. So Boone's death certificate's not finished. I'm still waiting on that. So I have to have a death certificate that says he wasn't murdered, that it wasn't homicide. Well, at this point, yeah, the VA killed him. So I don't know how it's going to go for me. But basically my husband was murdered, but I'm supposed to get a death certificate that proves it wasn't homicide before I can even move forward on my benefits. I've been there 15 years. Okay, I know he died in Washington, D.C., not with me. Are they trying to, maybe there are some family members that kill people, but why are we all paying for it?
Mm.
That they just dump you out and say, well, go apply. I've seen it take years to get that DIC. The one mother whose veteran husband died when their child was 16 months old, he's almost 11, and they're still waiting on it. So he was raised without anything from his father but Social Security.
The death certificate?
No, they don't. They filed with the death certificate over 10 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's, yeah.
People are still backlogged, or maybe now not with Trump, but at one point, Agent Orange was still going through.
Absolutely.
It took decades.
My husband's era.
They want us to die.
But I can give you other good news. When I was a forensic pathologist, I would specifically help a lot of veterans check their records. And even if they died from something like hypertension, if they had PTSD, I would research that, put it as an added cause on the death certificate, then they would get the benefits. So there are people out there, not just me. All you have to do, if you can get the records, is check them, check for the head injury, check for the PTSD, and there are ways to get veterans help. And I actually did help a widow who lost her house, exactly like you said. And I did this research and I found out that the husband had a shrapnel injury from World War II and he died from pneumonia. And I figured out there was some 1947 medical journal that said if you have shrapnel in your lung, if you have any pneumonia, it could be related. So I did this whole thing. I wrote to the VA and they overturned it, and the lady got her house back after they denied the husband and said it was not injury related. So that's the good news. We
Thank
can
you for
fix
doing
it.
that.
You are welcome, but there's many people like me. If we just put our heads together, figure out the system, we can work together to help the families of these veterans that need so much help. I'm just one small example.
And maybe by sharing this and we have people in the chat that are speaking out, that are being very supportive.
Absolutely.
So I grassroots, like we just got to keep doing this, because there are people out there that are going to be willing, that are fed up, that are going to hear this message, that are going to want to come forward. Every little bit helps. Anything that anybody wants to, whether it's supporting, Melissa in helping her financially, or it's supporting her in just sharing this, or telling another friend, or everybody's got their little thing that they can do. So every little bit helps. It takes a village. That's the reason we're doing this. We're highlighting all of the different people that make this movement stronger together, so that the more that we're unified, that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, they are. And more than anything that I need and is helpful is help me build a shield wall together so we can battle this side by side. I've been so blessed because I feel like I'm on this mountain with a sword and I'm like, bring it, And I've been so lucky to have so many people, a lot of them have military in their family. A lot of them are patriots. To me, this is a matter of national security, that our veterans are being murdered and driven to suicide, that we have no help, that our families are sinking. I mean, the rate of suicide with widows, with spouses, with caregivers, with children, it's higher than the national average for a reason.
Yeah.
You already have a child that sees their parent go to war, and then they come back, and then your life's different. I mean, if a helicopter goes over the house, everybody's down on the floor, because Boone would dive on him and we'd all be down on the floor. We always had special protocols for keeping the doors locked, and you know privacy, and just different things like that, because they've epigenetically moved past us, and the gene expression of what PTSD did makes them somebody who's they're I mean, honestly, it added to our lives. It wasn't always that didn't always take from our lives, but to have somebody who was always aware of where their children are, those are the things that should happen, and aware of what's going on. Some of those things are positive, and you learn to live with them, and they're normal, and our kids are still doing them. But then there's a lot of things that aren't, like, your dad in the middle of the night flying out of the bed, running down the hall, thinking there's somebody in the house because he's dreaming. A lot of things that were like that, and seeing them suffer and not get the help they need. There's the family is different. It's different than other families. Warrior families are different, and
Yeah.
we live differently. And so there's skill sets and things, even in our kids, that would be helpful if there's this revolution happening. They would know what their dad would want them to do. They would know how to survive better. And with them killing all of our veterans and then causing our warrior families to sink, I mean, these are the people that, if our homeland is invaded, those guys are not going to be sitting at home. They're going to be out there in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Watch. But they've killed so many of them, and so many are compromised now. It's not like it was. I mean, we're in bad shape, and we only have the military to rely on. That's who's going to save us. And again, when you see the two young people that were shot and the young female was killed, the National Guard, the other day, imagine her, okay, protecting our homeland, and they're well trained and everything. Nothing against them. I have a lot of respect for them. And then my 54-year-old husband that's been through the war and trained for years. He's a paratrooper. All of his buddies are battle hardened. All of them are combat tested. You take a brand new, young officer versus General Flynn, who's been in the middle of all of it. We need these people.
Yes, we definitely.
We need them in politics. We need a
Yes.
warrior president. Does anybody notice we don't have warrior presidents anymore? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes. So I just have to say a couple good things. Some people have said some rants that donated to you. Sting Tammy said, fighting for Boone and Melissa, Veterans Health and Safety, $100.
Oh my gosh. Thank you
Was
so
so
much.
lovely. And
I don't even know what to say.
Dr.
I'm very
MedExam,
humbled.
Dr. MedExam next to you, is $200
Oh
at
my
Chase.
Oh, goodness.
Um,
Thank you, Chase.
and Micro Toolmaker, $55. He's such a big supporter of so many people who spread
Thank you.
this truth, where we go all, and gave 10 subscriptions. Thank you so much for doing that. And if anyone wants to go directly to Melissa's GoFundMe, the QR code's right up there, and the link is actually below in as well. Well, I want to spend
We
a little
also
bit of
had
time
a
at the end.
we also had Mad Dad 2020
Oh,
that gave $5.
Thank
oh,
you.
excellent.
I'm very
Thank
humbled.
you.
I'm not used to that. Thank you.
And I'm trying to see if we
Yes.
can read that rant. Let's see if I can find that for her.
Yes. And while you do that, I just want to end with really good memories. So I want you to talk to me about some of these pictures,
Okay.
so we can think about good memories that you had with Boone. Tell me about that. Were you on a trip?
We were on the road somewhere. A lot of times, that might have been some kind of a veteran event. I think we were going to California, and when we got to spend time like that, that was my favorite time. We had an old
Yeah.
2009 Denali with a ton of, and we just got rid of it last year and got a car. But we would travel in that, and actually that vehicle, a lot of times he would travel in with some sandwiches and take some clothes, and he'd drive himself to wherever and clean up in a Starbucks bathroom. He'd drive 10 hours to LA or wherever he was going and sleep in the back and do the event and come home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what about this? You both look so cute
That
here.
was, thank you. That was a friend of his wedding. Yeah, a good friend of his in Reno. We enjoyed each other. We're best friends, and
Yeah.
he was my soulmate, and I'm so blessed to have him. It's been really difficult to live without him. He was just a beautiful person. I miss him so
I mean,
much.
you can see
Hey,
it in
Melissa,
both of
we
you.
did have a question in the chat from Rollerbug that wanted to know if you have tried to contact the Attorney General and that they had helped her in the past.
I haven't, like, regarding what aspect?
I guess your issues in general with the VA. She wasn't specific.
Well, I mean, like the one thing that's holding up processing the benefits is the death certificate. Outside of that, I don't know the time frames right now. I really don't know anybody that this has happened to recently and they've had to put the DIC through the death benefit. I mean, it's generally, been a while. So it's hard for me to know, I mean, it's not really something that until the death certificate is either not needed, saying it's not a homicide or whatever, it's going to sit there until the medical examiner releases that. But I mean, there's other things. I guess I could go to the Attorney General for different things, but I'd have to have something specific, and I don't know if I'd go to the one in the state. I don't know if the Attorney General could help me with that. Now, what is it? The Inspector General, I think, might be able to help me with the VA if it doesn't respond properly.
Yes, that makes sense.
So
We had I am Taylor.
right.
We just had I am Taylor 1935 donate $10. She
Thank
said,
you.
I use GoFundMe. This dollar holla times 10 is for someone who might have wanted to give but could not. Remember, we can be warriors by sharing this show.
Yes.
Thank you. That's really
fact.
what matters so much. Please
I
sharing.
think if everyone share this show and share it to all the fellas, the veterans, the moms, the sisters, I think it's going to be so important because the passion and the truth and and in your eyes and your conviction, Melissa, it's shared. I mean, you can feel it. It's palpable. And we feel you very much. And I just think this has been such an important podcast. I mean, incredibly important.
Yeah.
Um, and I am so grateful that you shared time with us. I hope that everybody takes this and shares this episode. This is gonna. I think this will help crack the door in the right direction. It has to. Your passion is again palpable. So thank you from the bottom of our heart for for sharing your story. I know it's not fun, and I know it's not easy. Um, but I that the one time when you were so fierce talking, Melissa, I felt Boone. I felt him. He's obviously with you. He's obviously with you, and giving you this strength that we all feel. So we just love you so much, and our hearts are with you in every step of your way. So we just want you to know that, and thank you again for all that you're doing.
Thank you for having me on here. I appreciate
You
your support, and it's so important that I'm Boone and I are givers. I feel very humbled about even being in a position that people would have to help me. It's a life learning event. But thank you. And please help me help this community. They're dying.
Boone's helped too many people.
Yeah.
We're going to step up. People will step up. Melissa, they
Yes,
will.
we will.
We're not going to let it die.
I appreciate that.
He did so much for so many people. This community is amazing, and they are not going to let you down. They're not.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. It's like in 2.5 months, a life I never dreamed I would be living. I'm living in every single way, and every day there's challenges. Right now I'm packing the house, trying to find a place where I'm going, dealing with going through his things, which is very difficult. Definitely didn't want to have to do that right now.
You didn't think your holidays were going to be like this, I know.
And to learn to live without him, and every morning waking up and realizing he's gone, and then this battle. So God has definitely let me know my path, and there's no question about it. It just is. And I don't have any negative feelings about it. I feel like this was an agreement made between God and I, and my husband. I'm continuing his work, and that gives me the opportunity to honor him and fight against the people that killed him. And I'm not
That's
gonna,
good. That's the
yeah,
best gift.
I'm not gonna.
One great leader just trains another, Melissa. That's you.
Oh, thank you. So, I can't thank you enough for your support, and please pray for our community. There's so much suffering and help that's needed. It changed my life when I realized what was really happening to our veterans, and I gave him 100% support, whatever I could do. And it was a tragedy to see, and it's still a tragedy to see. And every veteran that comes home that didn't die on the battlefield, you better believe there's a lot of issues that are going on in their life, and be kind to them and be thoughtful of them. And a lot of people are like, well, they changed, spouses and family members. Well, they're not the same. No, of course they're not. Anybody that goes through any type of extreme trauma like that, how can you expect they'd be the same? Maybe it's time for you to grow instead of trying to fit them in a box. Open your mind. That's a problem in our country. Nobody's mind's open, just very few. And there are a lot of them around me that their minds are open. But I mean, in general, people's minds aren't open.
No.
They don't look beyond their belief system or their politics or whatever. Well, there's a lot more going on that you miss that when you shut down your mind instead of it being open to what's happening and to change. That's important, because things are changing very quickly right now.
Very quickly. Yes.
So
the
for this
truth.
opportunity.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for being here. And we love you.
Thank you.
And
Love you too.
It's a holiday season. We're thinking of you for that too, and sending so many prayers your way. And we would love to talk again once you're moved and give us an update. We want update
Yeah,
with
so
everything.
I am trying to get out. I don't know if I can, but I'm trying to get the house on the market by January 1st. And I'll be going down to Florida to work with the Flynn family. So I'm really excited about that because I get to continue on, Boone's work and the spirit of Boone's work. And, they're doing so many amazing things with trafficking of children. And
Yes.
I mean, they're incredible people. I wake up and everything's so bad and feels so bad around me, but that one thing caught me and kept me afloat. And I'm forever grateful to those amazing human beings.
Absolutely. And there's more and more that's going to be coming out and hearing your story. So thank you, Malissa, for spending time with us. We just love you. Um, and thank you for everybody watching. Please pass this along. I would love it if you could follow this channel, Truth Teller Tales. A lot of important interviews that are going to be coming out.
Yes.
And please share this one though, because this is a game changer. Melissa coming on here and sharing
They're
what is
starting to
happening.
respond. I just need you to help me push.
Yep.
Please,
Okay.
please don't
We're gonna,
stop.
we're gonna
They're
fight
starting.
with you. We're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
fight with
starting to hear me. And I really pray Donald Trump intervenes and this stops. I mean, I know it can't all happen fast, but we need some aid down here. And this is a community that's duty bound to him. They love him. And to see this happening to them, I know he'd want to help. I pray he wants
Absolutely.
to help, and
Yes.
so I'd really like to get Doug Collins off the dance floor and the football game seat and all of that, and have him it be enough that the warfighter rights leader of this country's wife is trying to reach out to him. I want to work with him. I want to resolve these issues. I don't want to have anger. But I get anger when they don't respond and they just say, well, it doesn't matter how many of them die today, because that's what it feels like. Maybe they don't feel that way, but what they're doing is they're causing and driving veterans and warfighters to their death every single day because they're not getting the things they need. Shouldn't that be enough to interface with me? Shouldn't that be enough? I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't understand what it will take. I mean, they're sending little, different representatives to me that I appreciate, but why aren't we having a meeting and talking about what's really happening? Why do I just keep getting phone calls and the things like that? Like, am I suicidal? Well, you made me suicidal when you killed my husband. That never happened before, but no, I'm not right now. Thank you. It's not generally my state of mind. I'm here to fight.
Yes, you are. You
Yep.
are here to fight, and you've got warriors behind you, lady. I'm telling you, I can feel it. I can feel this as momentum, and there are some real warriors in the chat, and see them all saying, "We're going to repost. We're going to repost. We're going to
Yep.
repost this."
Thank you.
So
Thank you. I can't
thank
see
you,
that, and I don't
Melissa.
have my glasses on. So thank everybody that's posting. Thank you so much for your support. Everybody that's here.
Yes, absolutely. You've got a warrior team here that's just going to get it out there. So thank you so much. We love you,
We
and
love you,
and
Melissa.
I love
Melissa,
you all.
just because you weren't officially, enlisted, we do thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, love you.
Love
Thanks
you
for being
guys.
here.
Have a nice evening,
Okay,
everybody.
Bye.
Appreciate
you
you.
too.
Bye.